How can I be more confident at job interviews being an introvert? This is a question I get asked a lot, so I thought to address it here and also so that I can share it with more people. Well, to start with, I am an introvert, and I thought I'm pretty bold and confident to do this YouTube video in my baby's room next to the baby cot because I couldn't find a better corner today. And the baby doesn't have school today because of Teacher's Day and she's screaming here and there, so thank you for putting up with me. Back to my personal experience being an introvert. I grew up from pretty young. I preferred to read than to talk to others, or prefer to be alone than to go out and play with the other kids. So my parents found it pretty troubling. They kept apologizing to the guests who came to our house and I didn't want to speak to. They said, sorry, my child is really introvert and she just doesn't like to talk. At the same time, they also tried very hard to change me. They set a lot of role models that, hey, you look at that child, she is so happy, outgoing, always upbeat, and everybody likes her. And if you are like this, you talk slow, you hardly talk, you are so quiet. So all these, I think, is very hurting. If you are an introverted person, I'm pretty sure at some point of time in your life, you felt that it hurts. And the worst part is not that others think this way. The worst part is that we internalize this criticism and we start to say to ourselves, hey, I didn't talk much at that meeting and I must be looking so dumb and slow. And that is actually a bigger problem, right? So I want to introduce a book called Quiet. It has a bit of a long subtitle. It's called The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking by Susan Cain. I no longer have the book because I gifted it to someone who I thought needed it a lot more than me. The book Quiet made such a big impact on me that I literally recommended it 20 times in the past 1 year to my clients. In the book, the author acknowledged exactly that society bias that I talked about just now. The bias that the extroverts who are able to talk a lot, they are smarter, they are more charming, and they are more attractive, and they are more competent as a result. So that bias actually hurts us the most when we internalize it. Because a lot of times we may not actually get that feedback. People don't come to us and say, hey, you don't talk so much and you are so quiet, I think you are stupid. They don't, right? It's ourselves sitting there inside us saying, you are not talking much, I think you are stupid. So we are our worst critic, right? And to internalize that bias usually is being enforced in the way how we were brought up, how the society interacts with us. And this pain also comes from that internalizing, because once we feel, say in the meeting, we are like, I'm not talking much, and then we start to feel uncomfortable. And we suffer with that shyness, and we don't feel like being ourselves anymore. So with that, we usually have two potential behavior. One is some of us start to talk too much. And this is very dangerous in interviews, right? When we are talking too much because we want to feel we are in control, because we want to show we are competent and we can talk a lot. So that often makes us miss important questions and make us not a good listener. And the other type of very common behavior is then we talk even less than we wanted to, because we spend most of our energy thinking about, am I stupid, am I stupid, or I must be stupid, right? The single most important quote from the book is, don't think of introversion as something that needs to be cured. This is such a mind-blowing statement, or at least it was for me at that point of time, because all my life till then I thought being an introvert, being not so sociable, being not so comfortable in a place with a lot of people and prefer to go home after maybe 10 minutes being with others, I thought that was a big problem of me. And despite that, I was doing reasonably well in school, at work, or in life, these felt like certain kind of sickness that needs to be cured. But what Susan Cain is saying, no, it's not. And then she introduced two concepts. One is shyness. The other one is introversion. So shyness, the definition here, she says, is fear of social disapproval and humiliation. So it's a fear. And introversion is a preference. So preference here actually is not only about, there is no concise or precise kind of definition of introversion, because if we do personality tests, we will actually end up somewhere in between. You will see that extroversion and introversion, and then they will give you a score of 30%, 47% of introversion, etc. Right? So it's like a rainbow, a full spectrum of colors, and you are somewhere in between. And then the point is that when we are moving more towards introversion, there is an inclination, which is also a preference. So it's a preference of, even if the introvert person has maybe strong social skills, the person still has certain preference, and that is like listen more than they talk. They prefer to listen than to talk. They prefer to think before they talk. They prefer to express in writing than to talk. They prefer to stay quiet in conflict than talk. Or they may prefer deep conversation than a small talk. So you see, a lot of times they prefer some better alternatives than just talking.